Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's your boy Ruben, and you know what it is. New week, new video, and I definitely couldn't wait to hit y'all with my Cowboys video because what's not to like about the Cowboys? You know what I'm saying? So where we at? Unfortunately, we they lost the first preseason game to the Jags, and it's no news to anybody that I'm a Jags fan. So I mean, it's no love lost for me. I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I think in terms of like reading certain things, I think we learned, more being a Jags fan than being a Cowboys fan with this game. Part of the reason for that is because the Cowboys didn't play anybody for the most part. A lot of the stars and guys that are going to make noise during the season did not play. And then combine that with the fact that the preseason, in terms of like our style of play, it's pretty vanilla. So, for instance, on defense, we play that cover three zone type of scheme. So, they're not going to show any blitzes. They're not going to show any kind of crazy looks or anything like that. So, when you're reevaluating, or I'm sorry, not reevaluating, when you're evaluating, talent, you're just looking for like one-on-one situations and who flashes in those situations in terms of like their athleticism, their strength, or whatever, right? So things I like that are some of our rookies flashed in terms of like Mozzie Smith looked like he controlled the line of scrimmage pretty well. DeMarvion Overshone, he flashed a bit, and everybody's favorite right now, Deuce Vaughn. I was very high on Deuce Vaughn. I never understood, you know, I never quite. I mean, I get it. He's small. A lot of people, he's small and he's a running back, so they devalued the position. But Deuce Vaughn was highly productive. He had what 14 and then 1,500 plus yards. The guy's averaging over 5 yards a carry in college. He had an 18 touchdown season his sophomore season, and then you add in the production as a receiver. Dude is a Mister. He was a Mister Do It All in college. He was just small. Now, I feel like it's a little simple and lazy to just say, well, he compares Darren Sproles, because I don't think they look alike at all, other than they're short. Darren Sproles, I would probably say Darren Sproles was more explosive as a runner than Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn doesn't quite have the long speed of a Darren Sproles. I don't know if you guys even remember how explosive that guy was. He was very explosive, and had great long speed. Now, Deuce Vaughn is explosive, but kind of in his own way. Like I think he's probably stronger than Darren Sproles was, and he's maybe a little shiftier, right? So a lot of his, he actually sort of reminds me of Tony Pollard in that he has a very low center of gravity, has pretty good contact balance. Especially for a guy his size. I don't, the long speed isn't quite, Tony Pollard, Darren Sproles ish, but I think if I had to compare him to somebody, he probably compares more favorably to like a Tony Pollard, but a guy that came to mind, and and I've been sitting here thinking like, who does it remind me of from the past? He probably more closely resembles a Brian Westbrook to me, and I know as a Cowboy fan, nobody probably wants to hear that. But Brian Westbrook was a very good running back. He was a little jitterbug. He was that dude in Philly. So I'm just giving you like comps from what I see. So if we can get a Brian Westbrook type of career from Deuce Vaughn, then we're sitting pretty, especially because he's not even our starting running back. I expect good things from Tony Pollard, barring that, there's any setbacks from the injury. I do, his kind of injury, I do wonder because he did run awfully hard through contact, and when you break your leg or your body kind of betrays you like that, I kind of wonder if it changes, how hard or physical you're going to run. Give you an example, and he's not even a running back. Dak Prescott has never been the same since he broke his ankle, and it wasn't quite as severe an ankle break, obviously, because Dak Prescott was basically on the field trying to put his foot back together. It wasn't quite as bad, but it changed everything with Dak Prescott. I feel like I haven't seen the Dak Prescott I fell in love with ever since that injury. And ever since then, more injuries have come, and it's kind of derailed our seasons with Dak Prescott. And with Tony Pollard being a smaller, more explosive guy, what made him special was his ability to run through arm tackles and hit the home run plays. So there is a little bit of a concern that that might change his game, but he is in a contract year, considering that he's on the franchise tag. More concerning with the running back situation is who's going to be the short yardage back, right? Because none of these guys really fit the mold. I would suppose it'd be like a Ronald Jones, but he's not only hurt in camp right now, but he's also looking at a suspension. I'm not really impressed with some of the other guys like a Malik Davis and Deuce Vaughn for obvious reasons. I'm not sure I want to give a 5'5", 170-pound guy like the short yardage work when it's coming. That's where we're gonna miss Zeke, and then you also got to wonder how we're gonna protect Dak Prescott when you're trying to max protect him in passing situations. That's also where we're gonna miss Zeke. But ultimately, the reason I'm focusing so much on the running back situation is because it's supposed to be a staple of our team. It really kind of always has, and we kind of got away from it a little bit when the last couple of years under Kellen Moore. But Kellen Moore is gone, and Mike McCarthy wants to focus on the run game this year. I do think we're going to focus more on the running game, but I also don't think we're going to be as different as you guys think in terms of getting the ball out and making big plays. I just think we want to center our game more around running the ball and then play action and attacking deep and things like that. I don't think you sign a Brandon Cooks, which was a huge signing. I think we had a major offseason in terms of just the moves we made. So where I was not as happy with the Jags offseason is because, they made a lot of lateral moves. Well, with the Cowboys, what I appreciate being a Cowboy fan is we have a lot of the sexy positions covered already. So usually I go into drafts and free agency hoping to kind of plug the glue spots, defensive tackle, offensive line. How do you clean up, a position here or there? And I feel like we do that well every season. And in this particular instance, we lack speed at wide receiver, and you go get Mr. 1,000 yards, Brandon Cooks. All he does is catch for thousands of yards every season. So, and then on the other side of Trayvon Diggs, we went ahead and got Stephon Gilmore. Can you ask for two better players to plug holes for? And then I'm even more excited for Stephon Gilmore because he doesn't even have to be the number one guy, because I know a lot of people are thinking, well, he's not Defensive Player of the Year anymore, but he was pretty good last year. Of course, he's lost a step, but he doesn't have to be the number one guy anymore. And in this defense, it's going to be so much more. He's not going to be relied on as heavily in man-to-man. And then he can also bestow his wisdom to Trayvon Diggs, who I think could be a potential superstar this year under, after having signed his deal under the tutelage of a Stephon Gilmore, and he was already very good and very talented. You guys got to remember, I mean, what is he in, like year 5, 6? I don't know. But you guys got to remember, the guy's only been playing corner for 7, 8 years. He used to be a wide receiver. So I know there's guys that have been playing corner their whole life, and he wasn't one of them. And he's just been out there kind of being an athlete at corner. I think Stephon Gilmore helps him refine his game and subsequently helps us become a better overall defense. Now, I do have some worries at the safety position because if anything, because I don't really think we have that many weaknesses. The big thing was stopping the run has been an issue. It's always been our biggest weakness, was stopping the run, and I think Mozzie Smith cleans so much of that up. And then the fact that we got Overshown to help out at the linebacker spot with Leighton Vander Esch coming back, I think it's going to pay great dividends for us. I expect a Defensive Player of the Year type of season for Michael Parsons. But back to the safety position, we got Malik Hooker, we got J-Ron Kearse. And then Wilson's going to be back. So the only issue with that is Curse, Wilson. They're not the greatest deep ball type cover types. They're more in the box types, which is fine, but you can kind of do better in like nickel dime situations when you're playing the elite quarterbacks like that you'll probably face. Particularly if you want to win a Super Bowl, you're probably going to have to go through like a Patrick Mahomes. Those are kind of things I might worry about a little bit. But let's crawl before we walk, and then walk before we run. All right. So I expect big things this year. I expect this to be right back in the mix. I expect them to win the division. And again, the only team I worry about is the San Francisco 49ers. But I think this year there might be some kinks in that armor. They still haven't signed Nick Bosa. He hasn't been reporting as a report of, due to that. The defense is going to be good regardless. But although I do believe they lost some people in their secondary. And then they are pretty much giving the reins to Purdy. And Purdy's coming off a major surgery to his elbow. Now, they do have the rookie Trey Lance that they traded $1 billion picks for. They could fall back on him, but this is basically his rookie year. So I think while the 49ers could be good, I don't see how they get over the hump right now unless Purdy really comes back and proves that last year wasn't a fluke and he fully recovers from that. Now, Philly, I know a lot of people are like, well, what about Philly, Ruben? I really don't think Philly, I'm not worried about Philly. We beat them both games last year, and I know there's certain circumstances that people are like, well, not really, because one player was injured here or that player was injured there. I'm sorry. We lost the first game. I forgot about that. That was the game we didn't have Dak. I remember now. And then the second game, we beat them with Minshew. But I honestly think Philly, last year I thought was an aberration. I know everybody's high on Jalen Hurts, and maybe I'll do a separate video on Jalen Hurts. And I hate that I keep saying this, but I don't believe in Jalen Hurts like that. I think he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But MVP, people are putting him in the top 5. I don't believe he's that guy. They benefited a lot from a really easy schedule. I believe they lost both coordinators this season. I think that's going to be a major issue. I think the changing of the rules of handing off to the running back can no longer be done in front of the quarterback. I think that rules out read option a lot, and I think it really changes their game. He's always going to be a threat to run, and I honestly don't think he can throw when you force him to throw it. And I think that's what we're going to do. And I just think we have Philly's number. We always do. I don't fear those guys. I think they lost a lot of people. There's a lot of kind of moving parts. They're a super talented team. I still think top to bottom, their roster is among the most talented, if not the most talented. That team has done a hell of a job drafting and supplementing with free agency and things like that. But I just think we're better than them. Okay, and I can break that down in maybe another video. But ultimately, I expect to win the division, and I expect our test to be San Fran in order to get to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not going to make the prediction that we're going to make the Super Bowl this year, but I really want to see how this offense looks. I'm really worried, and to be honest with you, if anything, about Mike McCarthy having more on his plate than he can chew. I already have had issues with his coaching style and his inability to manage, time, clock management, stuff like that. And so now he's going to take the play calling. I do concern myself with that. So Dak, I need to see a resurgence from him, and this has got to be the year, or I think some major changes are going to happen. Is Dak going to remain our quarterback? Is Mike McCarthy going to remain our coach? Contracts have got to go out. We still got to get CD done. We still got to get Trayvon's done now. Michael Parsons is going to back up the Brinks truck. I'm sure those negotiations are going to start next year. It's got to be now. It's now or never. All right. Let me know what y'all think. Oh, last thing, a guy I didn't mention. I was a big fan of Jake Haener from Fresno State. And so as a result, I got to see a lot of Jalen Moreno Cropper. Now, I don't know if he's going to make the team, but I think he's a really good player. I saw a lot of Emmanuel Sanders in him. He's just a smaller wide receiver. And who do I cut? I don't know because Jalen Tolbert is flashing, but Moreno Cropper might take that Turpin spot. I mean, at least I would give it to him. But remember, like, subscribe, and share. Peace.